What was the biggest challenge you had to overcome? Was it conflict resolution? Was it boundaries? Was it not abandoning yourself? Was it communication skills? What was the
Fear.
fear of what?
Fear of failure.
Like a relationship not working?
A relationship not working. When you have been through, as you date and you go through relationships and you've been through betrayal and heartbreak and hurt and pain, you can become pretty cynical
Yes.
about love. And if you're not careful, that cynicism can really be a hindrance for you, because you cannot be a cynic about love and expect to attract it at the same time.
Ooh, snap. That's true.
Yeah.
So how did you keep your heart open after going through breakups and maybe after, challenging things happening in relationships where that hurt you? How did you stay open to love?
I had to reframe my thoughts and ideas and my perspective about the past.
What did you think about them then?
I had to learn to allow the past to stay in the past. I didn't want someone to come into my life and I make them pay for something they had nothing to do with.
Yeah, that's tough.
In my past.
Yeah, that's tough.
And when I got married, who did I want my husband to meet? This bitter, broken down woman who had been through the ringer in all these years and all these relationships? Or did I want him to meet someone who, because we're always in the process of healing. We're always in the process of growth and our emotional health. But did I want him to meet someone who was committed to that growth and that process and going forward, being committed to the same commitment, which is what really success in marriage boils down to, being committed to the same commitment. Because, when I was younger, I thought it was about this involuntary feeling of love. And then as I got older, I realized it was a conscious decision to love.
It's not just, I have this attraction to this person, I feel love towards them. It's a conscious decision.
Because you're not always going to feel love. Right. You're going to go through ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And if it were about a feeling, you'd be all over the place emotionally.
Up and down, yeah.
It's about a decision. And so when I talked about separating your feelings from the facts, that's what I mean. Like you're going to have a range of emotions, but the fact is, this is a person that I've committed my life to.
Yeah.
This is a person that I've committed to grow with. So I made all of these commitments to this person, and then you go forward with that in mind.
Did you have fears around getting married?
I had a fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
What is marriage really like? I see other people who are married, some of them happy, some of them not. Obviously, I see a lot of people getting divorced. So what is it about marriage? What makes it work? Do I know what makes it work? Do I have what it takes to make it work? So it was the fear of the unknown, because I hadn't done it before. Marriage by nature changes you. It's the closest relationship you'll ever have. It's very different from the parent-child relationship, every other relationship.
Friends, everything, yeah.
I wondered how it would change me.
From being in a relationship and dating to then being married, what have been the biggest differences and changes?
Allowing someone to see me at my most vulnerable state.
Ooh. Did you allow that during the dating process?
I allowed it to a certain extent, but I didn't live with my husband before we got married. That was a choice that we made.
Really?
We did not want to live together. And so when we got married and we moved in together, I had not lived with anyone since I was in college for 20 years.
Wow.
So again, it's that adjustment in life, just sharing my space with another human being every day.
You got married.
And how to handle that.
Yeah, and you got married a week before the pandemic in 2020.
Yes.
March 8th, 2020,
yes.
You said. So what was that? I mean, that takes a lot of guts to not live with someone beforehand in the modern world, to not fully see the person who they are. So I commend you on that. So what did you learn going through a pandemic for the last 2 years, getting married a week before, and then moving in together and sharing a life during, arguably one of the scariest, uncertain times in the last 20, 30 years?
Everything changed in the blink of an eye. We got married on March 8th in Los Angeles. Big wedding, all of our family, all of our friends. hugging, high-fiving, kissing, had no idea what was about to happen a week later. And I do look back on that day because I thought, when we were talking about our wedding, do we want to do something small? Do we want to, and we ended up just inviting our people and everyone came out. And now I look back on that day and I cherish it so much.
Yeah, because people haven't been able to do that for a couple of years.
Right. And I haven't seen a lot of those people since. So it just made those memories even more special to us. But also, yes, a week later, the world shut down. So we decided to take a mini moon. We were going to do a big honeymoon over the summer. So we just went to Newport Beach and we were there for a few days and we were in a bubble. We didn't know a lot about everything that was happening in the world until we came out of this bubble. So we came back to LA and I mean, there was no toilet tissue on the shelves,
Right.
the grocery store. I mean, it was just empty. Everything was empty. I'd never seen anything like it before. And I was like, oh, so you mean to tell me I waited all this time to get married and the world is about to end?
Wow.
It was crazy.
So what did you guys create? Did you guys come together and say, let's build a strong foundation during this time?
Yes.
Do you feel like it's made the relationship stronger?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has it been stressful living with someone for the first time in 20 years? How have you navigated it all?
We adapted really well. And during that time, we had every day and all that time to spend time together. And the pandemic, it challenged all of us in different ways, but it also presented us with an opportunity. And for us, it was noise cancellation headphones through the first few months of our marriage, because we got to really sit and be together and be still and be quiet. My husband is an R&B singer. He travels all over the world. And he was leaving a week after we got married to start traveling again.
Not
of
anymore.
course, that didn't happen. And so we got to spend a lot of quality time together. And I will tell you what I learned about him.
Yes.
What I talked about earlier, about when you see the true measure of a person and how they handle adversity and how they handle difficult circumstances. And because all of his, live music was impacted greatly.
That's how you make most of your money.
Completely.
Yeah.
And I never heard him complain, not even once. And I saw him be a source of encouragement to a lot of other of his artist and musician friends. And I mean, I was even shocked. I was like, okay, we're all about positivity and wake up happy every day. But really? You really wake up this happy every day?
Sure.
And it was inspiring to see. And I knew in those first few months that, because you always, love is about taking a risk.
Yeah.
We talk about that fear because it's a risk. There's a fear of being hurt again. There's a fear of those triggers being exposed again. And in that moment, I knew and I believed that I had made a right decision. But in those months after the pandemic, I saw it for myself very early on in my marriage, who my husband was in stressful times, in difficult circumstances, and how he was a source of inspiration and strength for a lot of people, including me.
So was each day kind of a confirmation that this was a great decision?
Yes.
And I leaned into this and
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes. It's been 2 years of just this amazing time in my life, because I used to get asked a lot why I was still single for so long. And I started to feel pressure from people. I never put the pressure on myself, and I know a lot of people perhaps do, but if you're not careful when you're single and people are asking you, well, I don't understand, why aren't you married, or what's going on? You can start to internalize it and feel that there's something wrong with you, or that there's something off within you. And it can almost be something that you become embarrassed by, because people are asking you as if you've missed some mark in your life, some milestone that you should have achieved by now. Not asking me if it was a desire of mine, by the way, if I wanted to, but just asking me, why wasn't I? And
why do you think people care so much about other people being in a relationship or being single?
Well, the question, I think, speaks more to who they are than it ever did to who I was, because I was okay. You know, there were lessons that I had to learn to get to the place where I could go into a successful marriage. I needed to learn those lessons. There are almost 8 billion people on this planet. We can't all be doing the same things at the same time, and we're not supposed to be. We're all supposed to be living our individual life paths and our individual life journeys. There are some people who don't think that. They think you need to be married by a certain age, you need to have children by a certain age, or you're not living the right path.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Right.
This is not a race. Why is it not a race? Because we're not all running in the same direction. So I learned very early on, and I think living in New York actually helped with that, because I was around so many other young professionals who were, at the top of their games in their careers. And we were, Saturday night we're here, Wednesday night we're at a show, and the live music and everything, and just embracing our full lives and accepting that being single was not a rest stop for me until I met my husband and really got to live. Well, if I had done that, I wouldn't have lived until I was 42 years old. Right. So what would I have done with all those years in my 20s and 30s? So it wasn't a rest stop. And I embraced that time and just did so many. I traveled all around the world by myself, solo. Went to all the restaurants that I wanted to go to, watching Sex in the City. Sometimes I would go by myself. I had this vibrant group of friends. I was not waiting to live my life. And I think that people, they project their own view of what they think life should be onto you. And so it's our job as individuals to, again, reframe our perspective and mindset and make a decision for ourselves that we're going to live our own life path and embrace that life path.
Absolutely.
And be happy in that life path. Pain in life is inevitable. You're going to go through painful experiences, but suffering is optional. And I was causing myself all of this additional stress and suffering over the end of a relationship. And I started asking myself, well, if you